Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Sorry it's been a little while since we posted. Nathan started pre-K, and as soon as he started pre-K, he got a little bug. He came down with a little cold. Thankfully, it wasn't COVID. But then Noah ended up catching it, so we've had a pretty hectic few weeks, so sorry we haven't been on here.
Yeah.
But we appreciate all the support that we've gotten, even just from our first video. So thank you, first of all, for all the support. It means a lot.
It really does. Thank you guys.
So this video is going to be all about what is X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy, or X-ALD for short. So we hope you guys enjoy.
So hey babe, will you explain like what ALD is?
Yeah. Okay, so ALD is a genetic disease that affects the adrenal glands and the nervous system. About 1 in 18,000 people are diagnosed with it, and it is a very, very rare disease. It affects the ABCD1 gene, so that means that the ABCD1 gene has a mutation in it. And it also is a loss of the ALD protein, and it gives you a high number of very long chain fatty acids, or VLCFAs, and they don't break down as any normal person's body would. So there are 3 types of adrenoleukodystrophy, and you really don't know what type you have until symptoms start showing, and I think that's probably the worst part.
Yeah. Anybody out there who's dealing with it, and just, it's hard. That's all I can say is it's hard. So
we keep our eyes open for all the signs and symptoms. So here are the 3 types. The first type is called childhood cerebral ALD. It onsets between the age of 4 to 10, and it affects the myelin in your brain. It diminishes the myelin around your brain. And 40% of boys will develop the childhood cerebral type. And, the symptoms, they get worse over time. They start with, walking or running issues, behavioral problems like hyperactivity or, distractibility, and they can't focus, vision problems, hearing problems, and, there's just so many things, and they just diminish until it ultimately, I hate to say this, until it ultimately kills them. But that's the reality of it. So there are a couple treatments and stuff that are available, but we'll get into that later. The second one is adrenomyeloneuropathy, which is pretty much just the adult form of it. It's less severe, and it progresses later in life, like when they're way older, not like 4 to 10, like when they're adults.
40s, 50s.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Not babies.
Yeah, not babies. That's why it's a totally different type. But with AMN, they mostly have like stiff gait. They have bladder problems. That just adds on to it. The third type is, excuse me, is Addison's disease, or adrenal insufficiency, which just means that the hormones in your body aren't producing at a right level. So you have to be put on steroids daily in order for you not to go into pretty much adrenal shock and have your adrenal glands shut down. And your adrenal glands are the 2 little glands that are on top of your kidneys. So those are the 3 types of ALD. And I will say that Noah is already adrenally insufficient. He takes steroids 3 times a day. And we just keep an eye out for any more signs and symptoms. But we realized, that with all these testing and stuff. But now we're going to get into Noah's story, how he got diagnosed and everything like that. Do you want to start, babe? Start that?
Basically, in the delivery room, whenever we first had Noah, they gave him a heel brick And basically the test came back. I can't remember how many weeks later was it?
It was a couple weeks. They just did like a little
2 weeks,
heel stick just to make sure.
Yeah, well, that was the first sign of it. And then from there we retested him and actually had his brother tested too to make sure that no one had it other than Noah.
So the newborn screening test was what he was talking about with the heel prick. And they, just take a couple like drops of blood just to, make sure that he doesn't have any life-threatening diseases. And that's exactly what the newborn screen is. It just is like a list of very rare diseases that just catch it before it gets too severe. No. So that's what the test was called. And then they sent it off. They have to send it off to a lab because it's such an in-depth test that you don't get results right away. So they said they discharged us from the hospital. He was fine, healthy. So we got home, and I think like 2-3 weeks later, maybe?
I want to say it was like 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah. 3 weeks later, we got a call saying that his VLCFA levels were abnormally high. And, of course, she was like, it's nothing to worry about. Yeah. It's probably a fluke. Just come in and let's redo it.
Could be what did she say, a false test?
Yeah, it could be a false high or something like that. So we were like, okay, no big deal. So we came in, they redid the heel prick test, and they sent it off again just to make sure. And I know 2 weeks after that, I remember this day so vividly. Ryan was at work, I was home with the boys, and Noah was a little right past a month old, maybe right at a month old.
Bitty baby. Tiny baby.
And I got a call from Noah's pediatrician and Nathan's pediatrician saying that they got their test results back and he was in fact positive for X-ALD. Now, when she started explaining to me what ALD was, I honestly blacked out. I mean, I remember finishing the conversation, but I was so in shock because it's such like a rare but crazy disease, and our family hasn't had no history of it, so we were
on either side.
Yeah, we were in shock. And I'm glad you brought that up, like either side of the family. X-ALD is look at me. X-ALD is so it's on your X chromosome. So women are XX, men are XY. So if you are a boy and you have an X-linked disease, that means you get your X from your mom and you get your Y from your dad. So technically the disease would have had to come from my side because it's on his X chromosome. Sorry, we didn't even say that earlier. I'm glad you said that.
My baby's so smart, ain't she, everybody? And look how pretty she is. And
stop.
She's amazing.
Anyways, back to what we were saying. So after we got the news from his pediatrician, we were referred to a, not local, but local as in the state, Center for Genetics, which ultimately just, confirmed the genetic testing and it was completely sure that he had it. They wanted me tested also. They wanted Nathan tested just because it's obviously very rare and very life-threatening. And he's a boy, so he's more at risk for having it. Yeah. They didn't test Ryan, obviously, because it's on your X chromosome, so there's no way, literally, scientifically, he would have it or it would come from him.
Exactly.
So we finished going there. We just got, like, some basics. Honestly, I'm going to say it, it was really no help. It probably scared us more than anything going down there.
Yeah.
Just because the hospital didn't really know what they were talking about. And I hate to say that, but some doctors and some hospitals just don't know enough about ALD to be educating other people. So me and Ryan...
It was pretty scary.
Me and Ryan got so scared, we immediately started researching, other doctors, hospitals that had maybe specialists or like a special side of this that could help him specifically with the leukodystrophy or adrenoleukodystrophy or, a leukodystrophy clinic. Any of the sort that had any types of experience, we wanted to go.
Yeah.
So we did research. He did research. He found so many, like, on the West Coast. I found East Coast and North, and just ultimately we found a center up north that we wanted to go check out just because we had heard so many amazing things from our little support group on Facebook for ALD. So we bit the bullet, and how long did we fly? Like 14 hours?
It was a minute.
Yeah, we flew 14 hours. And as soon as we got there, they had a whole team waiting for us. Like, I mean, like neurology, endocrinology, geneticist, a regular counselor. They had the bone marrow transplant team just to like go over everything with us. I mean, they were so in depth and they were so knowledgeable that like I'm gonna get upset, like I'm gonna cry just because I'm so happy that we found them. Like they were so nice, weren't they, babe?
Oh yeah, that's probably the like. I know there's no real like way of explaining, like I don't know. Either way, what I'm trying to say is they were who made us feel like everything was going to be okay and that there was a fighting chance. Because before we had spoke to them, we were just in a blur of thinking that we're going to lose our baby anytime, any second. So, if anything, I thank God for those people every single day, and what they do is amazing.
Yeah,
so.
I agree 100% with everything that Ryan just said. I mean, they cared so much that the neurologist up there missed his flight and stayed with us to go over Noah's brain MRI and show us where lesions would come up, where he would start losing myelin, where we need to watch. You know, he missed his flight by 2 hours just sitting there making us feel more comfortable. And that's the doctor that we want on our side. We want somebody who cares and who, you know, just knows what they're talking about. And that's the biggest blessing out of all of it, is that we have such a good team.
And obviously you guys can tell like who the brighter one out of the two of us are. So I'm the one who was like, what does that mean? What is that 3-inch long word you're trying to... I have no idea what you're saying. Just please explain it to me like I'm Fred Flintstone. And the only reason why I was like that is I wanted to understand myself. I knew she did. She's also like been in medical school and all that stuff. Like I'm not. I'm the type, just rub some dirt on it, you'll be alright. But
it was...
Sorry, I keep fumbling my words.
That's okay. He was just wanting to make sure that he understood completely because...
Yeah, and they had no problem dumbing it down for me, so I understood everything. And we're just very, very thankful for those doctors and what they do, so...
Yeah, so they ultimately... I mean, since the clinic is so far away, we obviously can't go up there, like, for regular routine visits, like, every 3 months or, you know, whatever we needed to do. So they told us if we were comfortable finding a team down here, just, you know, keep an eye on him, that, you know, for routine visits, we'd see a neurologist and an endocrinologist down here and, you know, keep doing his speech therapies. They set up a team down here, and we sent them all our information, and they said, you know, you've got a team down there, you're taken care of, they're going to send us everything for every visit. And you guys can just fly up here once a year and get his brain MRIs and his hormone tests and blood tests and stuff like that. So that made us feel really, really comfortable. And they have been on top of it ever since. I mean, I can call the doctor right now and he'd answer the phone just because they are so on top of things.
Yeah, it's not like you leave a voicemail and then 6 weeks later you get a message back. It's not like that at all. It's more of they're on their game. They know what they're doing. They're professionals. They're really good at what they do.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the story of how he got diagnosed and everything. So Noah is now adrenally insufficient so far. Those are the symptoms that he is showing. So he's on steroids 3 times a day. And we just keep watching for other signs and symptoms.
He has had 2 small seizures, witnessed them or whatever, we were there for them luckily, and
but they don't know if it's really linked to the ALD just because he's so young, and childhood cerebral ALD normally doesn't happen until the age of 4, but we are a very rare family, so I mean I wouldn't doubt it. But we kind of have to wait for the next MRI, because with leukodystrophy, it's really hard being put under anesthesia for a long amount of time, and he's already been put under like 3-4 times. So we're just waiting on that. But we did have a few questions from you guys from our last video, so we wanted to answer those. I think there's only 2.
Yeah, I'll read the question, you do the answering, Mama.
Sounds good.
How did we find out?
Was it?
In a routine visit
Okay.
or anything we saw abnormal?
Okay.
Was their question.
Okay, so like I said earlier, we found out through the Florida newborn screening test. And thankfully, they just added X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy to the newborn screening test 3 months before Noah was born. They added it. So, I mean, if he was born 4 months before he was, we would have never known.
Nope.
Not known a thing, and we would have just seen it as it happened, and they would have tried to diagnose it some other way. But so that's how we found out. My pregnancy was fine. Nothing in utero showed, and so we just found out, thankfully, because of the newborn screening test.
Yep, the heel prick.
Yeah. Okay, what's the next one?
Second question. Survival rate for a healthy child. Oh, sorry.
No, that's good.
Survival rate for a healthy child be after we use their bone marrow to treat Noah.
Okay. So this question was kind of it was kind of worded kind of where I didn't really understand it, so I'm going to try to my best to explain it to you guys. The survival rate for a healthy child, the child that we would have would be made to be a complete 100% HLA bone marrow match for Noah. So this child, we would make sure was free of any genetic diseases, number one, was free of X-ALD, and was a bone marrow match for Noah. So that child would be completely healthy. That's what our main goal is to have a very, happy, healthy child.
Yep.
And after we use the bone marrow to treat Noah, we would only use it to treat Noah, just because that's the only treatment that there is right now for childhood cerebral ARDS, other than like gene therapy trials and clinical trials, and those aren't a guarantee. And really neither is a bone marrow transplant, because you're taking somebody else's cells in their bone marrow and injecting it into you. Your body has that chance of rejecting it and just
not wanting it at all.
Not wanting it, and you will go into sepsis, just because your body's rejecting your own blood, pretty much, and your own marrow. So that's why ultimately we chose to have another child, to make sure it was a 100% match, because we don't want, a 95% match. That would be, that's a blessing. Any match is a blessing, seriously, any match. But if it's a 90% match, that means that there's a 10% chance that his body's going to reject it. So we don't even want to think that. We just want a 100% we know that this is going to treat him. And it's not a cure. There's no cure for ALD. It will not cure his symptoms and make them go away. When he receives the bone marrow transplant, I don't know why I just did this. When he receives the bone marrow transplant, whatever signs and symptoms that he has already had, he will stay with.
Yeah, there's no reversing anything.
There's no reversing, but there's also no progressing after he gets the bone marrow. So he'll stay right where he is.
Hopefully.
Yes. So there is no cure, but that is the answer to your question. I hope that answered your question.
And if it didn't, send us another question worded just a little bit differently.
Yeah. We'll do a whole nother video. The next video will probably be what is neutropenia, all about Nathan and how Nathan got diagnosed. And we might do some more Q&As on the next video. But you guys stay tuned, because we're about to go meet our doctor and do some consent signing and some form signing and all that kind of stuff. So y'all stay tuned for our next video, and I promise, right babe? We promise it won't be 3 weeks from now.
No. That was mostly my fault. I felt like crap for the longest time, and I was like, no, I'm not doing a video.
No, it's fine. We were all just sick and stuff and getting used to the flow. But thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe, because I know this video has already reached a lot of people in the ALD community, and I'm very thankful for that. So thank you guys really for watching, and
we'll see you again soon.
yeah, bye.
Bye.